Alrighty, it's 8 o'clock. Hope everybody can hear me. Hope it was a good night. Like most good builds, we're going to start with a plan for tonight. Basically, I'm trying to get the cockpit built, except for the gun sight. It's a clear part. I may get that painted. I'll add that after it's painted. I want to assemble the fuselage sides and the wings, as well as the struts and wheels and hubs, minus the covers, because I'm going to need two different colors. The interior RLM 06 on the inside, and then I'll need the RLM 76 on the outside of the covers. In addition to this stuff, what I'd like to get done is some painting prep. So these part numbers, I need to get them off, cleaned up, tacked up, and hopefully get them sprayed black gloss. And the same with these, except these will be in gray and these will be in black. I missed that one over in the black column. The A18, I'll have to look, see which one that is when I get there, and these in black, and then I've got some parts in white. So, and then once I get these prepped out and ready to go, this stuff should be dry enough that I can prime the cockpit in black, the sides in black, and the wheels that need to be, the struts and wheels need to be in black. And that should be it for tonight. And then first thing in the morning, whether we do a live or not, I'll start getting these into color and painting and trying to get the fuselage together so I can assemble the wings and all that good stuff. I did do, in addition to some of the other preparatory videos, I showed working on the base, also working on some seat belts. I did, excuse me, mask off at least the external parts of the canopy. That's saved me like, I don't know, a couple hours. I'm not the best at masking, but it's also 1/48 scale, made it a little bit easier. So we're gonna set those aside for now. And put our plan over here where we can see it. Also, the phone is probably gonna run out of charge, so you'll excuse me. Charger up. And get things reset. Cool. All right, so this is what we're gonna work on. Like I said in a previous video, I have taken everything out, reviewed the plans, obviously, that's why I have a plan. I've got my inspirational photo here to keep me on track. And these parts have been taken out of the bag and everything has been washed in warm soapy water. And I think what I'll start with is getting the cockpit stuff together. So let me get on the right instruction bit here. I apologize for all the paper noise. We do have a decal to put on there in the morning as well. So these are all on sprue A, which is this sprue. I have my hot little hands right now. So we know we're going to need the fuselage at some point. So I'm just going to clip this off. And I know there was a comment about can I build an airplane? Yeah, it's not going to get built in 2 hours because I've got bits that need to be, we need this for the prime pile. I'm probably cutting off camera, but I apologize. All right, so let's take a look here. Here's our bucket, the floor bucket. Set this sprue over here. This is our firewall. We have a pilot, but we're not going to use the pilot. These bits all need to go in. So that, where it's going to be over here, the firewall. Excuse me, I keep switching back and forth through my glasses. So we've got this one, and this charity challenge is going on around the world. So Australia start at 8 o'clock their time. They're already 12 hours ahead, or whatever the time frame is. I'm not really sure, since this is that time of year where the U.S. goes early to what we call daylight savings time, which I call the worst time to be on. And I think Australia still waits to go on what they call summertime, and then you get Britain and Europe going at different times as well. So it's all messed up. So let's see if we've got everything here. You know what we're missing? Yeah, right there. Alright, so we've got the floor plan. We've got the pedals. We've got our control stick. We got some trim that'll go on the body later. Firewall, instrument panel. And we got seat frame, control stick, panel. I'm missing something. This does not have a parts list, so. What could that be? Oh, that's the armored panel for the back. Headrest. I believe. Yeah, that's the armor. Probably not going to put armor in. It's early warbird. There's trim. Got that. I mean, this should go together pretty quickly right here. This cockpit may not take me as long as I thought it was going to take me. So, first thing we'll do is start cleaning stuff up. And you're probably really far away and can't see what I'm doing, but it's all about just seeing what we can do. This should be a nice flush cut. I'm going to sand the stick. I'm starting with a coarse stick just to knock that down. And if you tuned in on time, you missed me changing to a fresh blade. I always start my new kits off with a fresh blade. Alright, that's that one done. Seat. I don't know if you'll see much of this back side, but in scale mod, there's a lot of things you do because you know it's there. Like, I'm going to paint up this interior, and then I'm going to put a canopy on it, and 99% of it you won't see even after it's detailed. But I get to look at it and look inside and see. So I also have to remove these little bits. And it looks like what they want to have us do is have that little break. It's going to sit just like that. The nice thing about this Tamiya cement is you only need a little dab right there, and it'll wick itself right in, just like that. And that's done. Let's take care of these. most of this is going to be painting. Let's get a little bit finer brush. So we'll see what we can get done tonight. Like I said, if I can get all this in primer, then I can let it sit overnight and cure. And spray it, and then spray the base color on it overnight. Alright, that looks good. This is a sub-assembly. The piece goes flying off into the carpet monster. I don't even know if you guys can hear me jabber-jawing, but when I model, I tend to just listen to a podcast and not really talk about what I'm doing. So I got a decision point here in that, do I want to mount the instrument panel now? Because that's actually going to be black. Everything else is in a German interior color, RLM02. I'm using a lot of O2 initially. Painting is going to be the big bit of this, so I think I'm going to try and blast through some of this quickly. The less work I've got to do assembly-wise, the better. It's like I said, Tamiya extra thin, boom, boom, a little dab. Let that cure. And right here in this notch, that little notch, that's where the gun sight's gonna go, which is on the clear sprue. So it's this little piece right here. I'm not putting the armor plate on, so that's just gonna stay on that sprue. And I will probably paint this on the sprue and then cut it off and touch up. It'll be one of the very last things before I put the canopy on. It's just gonna sit like this. It just needs to sit in that little notch right there. And everything on this is black except for the face and that little screen. So again, there's no way I cannot hit that with an airbrush and keep the clear clear. So let that sub-assembly sit there. A nice little notch right there for the seat. So what I'm going to do is start with that as my locator bit. This is a really nice, so far, kit. It should be a nice quick kit. I picked it. The reviews I saw online were that it was quick, easy. Let's see how that pilot would look. I'm not planning on putting the pilot in. Because it's going to be on the ground. We'll see. I may end up painting them up anyhow, and then we can make it a last minute decision. It can be plopped in just before the canopy goes on. That would kind of negate all the work I did on the seat belts, because he already has a seat harness molded onto him. But he's sitting on his parachute. Yeah, that might work. Let's just, while we're at it, see if I've got these wildly out of scale. More than likely, yes. But without the pilot, these will just sit. Yeah. I can remake those if I have to. So the pilot, he may or may not get done. I'll let that cure. Killing some time. I almost threw it away. That would be a shame. Let's see. Wow, these things, these little control sticks in my normal scale, 172, are fragile little things. I would never use the clippers. But this has got enough plastic that you can get in there. See what you're doing. And yeah, I've got some nasty going hands here. All right, so with this little guy, get the orientation correct, that's going to bend back towards the pilot, which means it goes right in just like that. And we'll let the cement do its work. Tap, tap on the side, but wick right in. Then we got the foot pedals. This will be so much easier to paint before it's in the cab. Now, they do not really give you, does this go first? So if I glue that in place, then there's two locators that go here, and the back locator goes on there. I think we are gonna dry fit everything first. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to get that forward. There's a lot more detail on this scale. Like I said, I've got a 1/72 diorama that I'm working on. Let's see, this guy over here. You just get an idea. This one's all done. This is Franz Ziegler's plane. Just look at the cockpit size difference, right? Even the pilot, it's so much bigger. But I got that one ready. I've got a B-17 to go with it. That would be Mr. Charlie Brown. And then I've got an Edwards kit. And based on how this build goes, we will see if 1/48 becomes our new preferred scale. Get in there. I do like that this is a little more robust part sizes. I don't feel like I'm gonna snap anything off. I'm not trying to be super aggressive with it. And there's a little flange right there. I don't know if you can see it. It's just right there, and that'll help stabilize everything. Just let the glue do the work. Okay. Now that went together a lot quicker than I anticipated. Get back here and just see what happens. It fits in the fuselage. All right, so that gets us where? And that gets this done. Let's work on the sides. So like on that little Airfix kit that I showed you, they usually have extremely soft plastic. This is a good solid plastic. And they pick really bad spots for their attachment. I don't really like that, but at least it's in the middle of a panel, not on a panel line. So if I sand it, I'm not gonna lose the panels or the rivets. That's right on the top of a fuel tank or some sort of check cover. What's the other side look like? That's in a panel, that's in a panel. So that's all pretty good, even if I have to do some hard sanding. But let's try to clip it. Leave it just a little proud. So with a slight little bit of sanding on there, once that gets primered and painted, that'll go away. So bravo Tamiya. They're already well ahead of the 2022 Airfix design choices. I think that little plane I just showed you is probably my last Airfix kit. Unless they drastically improve, and I don't think they will. I think they build them for kids that don't care about details. Cat hair, imagine that. Drop those in the bucket of sprue goo. You know what sprue goo is? It's just leftover Tamiya cement dropped in. It's not even sprue goo. I don't know where my sprue go. Sprue goo. Sometimes I can use that as a good filler. It's got a lot of adhesive in it, so it will melt sometimes, but it will bond plastic together. Let's just take a look at something, see how this is going to fit. See, that's already, I'm not used to the size. So when I start, I'll probably start on the front of the engine. Make sure I get the cockpit lined up. Yeah, there you go. Oh man, almost like snapped together. Cool beans. Okay, before we go much further, let's see what we can do. Just look at the knife scrape, and you see that white. That's just crazy. My days of making plastic. That's just the plastic. The way plastic deforms under load is it goes through a color shift. They call that crazing. It's just a mark off. So you don't have to worry about the color. It's more, don't take so much plastic off that you leave a divot, but don't leave so much on there. Yeah, that's fine. Hit that with this is my 400. Yeah. So here's a way of seeing. That's after clippered off, but it's still a little proud. And then so slight cleanup. That will never show under the paint. That's our goal. So let me get that one cleaned up out. So hit these with a little 400. And it looks like you see there's a color differentiation there because it's going from that nice shiny mold wall to the sandpaper, but that actually will give the primer something to bite into, and it'll self-level out all those fine scratches. No need to polish it. I don't want to change the shape, I just want to get rid of it so I can't feel. It's not really a visual thing, it's a feel. Yeah, that one still needs a little work. There we go. Something's right in there. I did hear someone say there's a lip right there that you can see it. You might not be able to see it on camera, but I can feel it. There we go. Same thing there. Yep, slight little lip. Now's the time to take care of it. Oh yeah, you can really see it there. And I have to be careful in here. I'm gonna switch to a thinner stick. So I don't want to get rid of that mold line, that hatch. There. I'll do the other side. These are pretty good right now, but you can feel it. If I can feel it, that means I'll see it in the paint later. Dear deceased mother's now rolling in her grave with my elbows up on the table. But that's a good point of don't know why they didn't put the attachment point here, because this gets covered. This is kind of, you paint it so you don't see any light coming through, but there's no engine detail, so I'm not sure what they were thinking. Now, maybe a higher quality kit. I'm really liking this Tamiya kit so far, like an Edwards or something. Once I get used to building it, then you start buying engines. You can do a little diorama where it's being serviced, where they're reloading. Me109s are my favorite airplane of all times. I like the look, the lines. Here we go, just do a video, like in an air show, little Daimler Benz engine, inverted V12 with a turbo. There's just nothing like it. Just sounds like a weapon of war. Nothing wrong with the Merlins and the Griffins and the Spitfires. They just sound like race cars to me. It sounds like I'm listening to a Formula One race car, and the Mustangs are the same way. I just prefer the sound of the German aircraft. All right, I think we got that cleaned up well enough. Now, pop up the glasses here so you can see what I'm doing. I have two other small parts that need to go on. So one is this trim wheel. So let's get that off its sprue. Actually, that's one that makes me nervous. So we're gonna go to the table. I don't know if my head's in the shot, but I apologize if it is. Take that one off there. And this is probably not coming up on the camera phone, but you can see we still got a little bit of parting right there to do. So I'm going to cut away from the part. There we go. Cut away from the part, from the back side to the front side, cutting away. So I got that on an angle. And what that does for you is it leaves just a little bit, needs to be sanded off, but now I preserve the detail that I want to see. Back to the 400. And I want to flatten it. And what I'm going to do when I get off of here is, after I get this all ready to go, is go back to my reference source material, and hang on a second, guys. Yeah, it looks like I'm off camera. And then, not sure what this thing is. Probably a radio. It gets painted silver. Oh, that just came right off. Again, you're not gonna, I could leave the mold lines on here. Once this thing's all buttoned up, even at this scale, you're really not gonna see it, but I'll know they're there. It'll bother me that I didn't take the time to clean up the part. Let's see if I can adjust this camera. There you go. Stay with me. Once I plugged it in, it just wasn't behaving. How does that look? Yeah, get to see my legs. Woohoo! Alright, so now let's get this stuff out of the way. I still don't like the way that looks, even though it'll get covered up in paint. So let's go back to our instructions. This one needs to go in. These are painting guides, but we'll come back to that. And then that goes on the other side. All right, cool. So there's the other wheel. I'm gonna do this so I don't, if you get this Tamiya extra thin is great, it wicks, but if you get it on the plastic and then you touch it, you will leave a fingerprint that you will never ever be able to get out. So I'm just gonna put a small dab right in the hole that this needs to go into. And the orientation, there isn't an orientation button, but they want it like that. So that's just a trim wheel. Now the other side, we have this nice long bit. So what I will do is, now see that little bit there, I can take this, get rid of it. As long as I don't touch it, we'll be fine. And the orientation is that bottle top looking like thing going up, and then here we go. Here we go. This is how I get fingerprints on stuff. It's gonna be fun to paint. You'll actually be able to see some details. Now there's something I don't like to see. That sink, you probably won't see it, but it's gonna bother me. You know what? I think that's gonna be, yeah, that's gonna be behind the firewall. It's gonna be right on it. Let's see, where does this go? That's gonna go up in there. It can't go beyond there, it's gotta go there. Yeah, a little bit of that showing there. So, just see half of it. Again, it's one of those things. Is it worth to sand it out? You're at like 35 minutes into the build. So I know I got plenty of time. Just get rid of that. Then I don't have to worry about it. Like I said, it's gonna be dark. It's gonna be covered up. But I know it's gonna be there. It's gonna bother me. Just like that one. It's gonna be behind everything. But it bothers me. There's the aggressive one. That just tells me I need to get some new sanding sticks. This is side, yeah. That's probably below the cockpit seat. And if you throw a pilot in there, you'll never, ever, ever see it. Sweet. So, cockpit, all that assembled. All right, let's clean up a little bit. Let's do it over here. Before I get to cutting parts, let's go to the other sprue. Alright, so on our checklist, fuselage sides, we still have the gun sight. Alright, so let's do the wings. So this is step number 4. So you can see we've done all this. We'll prime this all black. Then I'll come back and paint it all RLM2. And then we'll pick out a couple different spots on the color codes. I probably will go and do a little research. That needs to get painted. That's the gun thing. And once this is painted black and it's cured off, I'll have to hit it with a little bit of gloss varnish and then put the decals. That's what's going to keep me from from quick assembly tomorrow. So early in the morning, at least this got to get painted black and get that, get all this big spray. And when I get to the brush painting, I'll brush paint some on there, and they'll get that done. We've got this done. This will just get quick spray. I don't think 18 is not on the list. Yeah, it is. Semi-gloss black. I don't, maybe. I think there's a leather cover on the outside of the wheel, so we'll pick that off. And 16 is aluminum. Yeah, that's probably a heater or something. We'll take care of that. I've seen them paint it white. I've seen them paint aluminum. We'll make it out. We'll get the other parts cut. So this should be real simple. Just a little bit of cleanup. It does have call outs for the wheel wells. We'll see. Sometimes I do pre-spray and then putty off when I spray but this is so narrow and small, and then the other side of it is on here, so I may just hand paint those. We'll see how I feel in the morning. So let's look for step number 4, wing assembly. Flying through this thing. Trust me, usually the slowdown is the painting. So, got 3 big parts. Cut off the part if you can. Well, it's on the sprue. Because these are the wings, and that is the leading edge. So we want to take our time and clean that up. So I got the confusing part for me is going to be when we get to putting on the flaps and the slats. I believe on the ground the flaps will be down and the slats will be pulled in because of hydraulic pressure. There'll be no hydraulic pressure. In order to pull the flaps up in position, you need hydraulics and to push those out. So on the ground, as the fluid sinks back down, these will just start to droop and these will pull back in. There's also a call out to paint that front notch in an interior color. We'll see how much of that shows. The rest of this is going to be cleanup. So I'm going to stick that over on our sprue caddy. Now, this is the back side here, so a lot of this is going to be covered by the front slat, but I'm going to pretend like the slat might be open and take my time and be careful. This is a leading edge, so we really need to be careful. We don't want to change that shape, so I'm going to leave that a little proud. And I guess they really didn't have a spot for the sprue gate. They couldn't have put it interior here. That's nice. You got some sink marks, but I don't see them showing on the surface. We got a little bit of mold mark, but I think that'll cover with primer. And I'm painting with all acrylics, so everything will be primered. I don't really like enamels. I just wear a particulate mask when I spray because I'm using acrylics and I want the particles, but enamels are just nasty. Aerosoling thinner, to me, it's just not a good thing. The cleanup is nasty. I can just clean up with soapy water. Every once in a while, I'll use some isopropyl alcohol just to get rid of clogs and chunks. Again, I'm just looking for where are the sink marks. Like there's one right there. Do I see a problem on the surface? Not really. There's 2 more push pins here. Now I still see that craze, but I think that's just plastic flow and maybe a hot mold tool. It's an older tool. Now, this is a critical spot here too, because that is going to, at some point, it's going to sit in this root right here, and it's got to make a nice seam. So we don't want to change that length. So we're just going to clip that a little proud, and then we'll file back to it. And the other 4 gates are right here on the leading, make up the bottom half of the, well, that's not even, that's going to get covered. There's some of the leading edge right there, so that'll have a flap in front of it, or sorry, not a flap, a slat. So we can be a little more aggressive with those. These two, I'm gonna leave them a little proud. Little proud. The level of detail, it's just nice. You even have your gun pods, so you got a machine gun here, and this is just where the ammo would stay. That's your ejected shell casing. So now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, should I spray this before I tighten it? That's what we may end up doing. Clean it up. Spray the underside. Although, I think I can hit that all with primer, it'll be fine. That's a nice fit. That's a nice fit. Let's see how this side does. And there's some tabs here. They must be locating tabs, but they tell you to build them independent. A lot of times, they'll have you put the fuselage together, attach the bottom, and then put the wings on. Depends on the model maker. Older Airfix kits do that a lot. They're just a big pain in the butt. All right, let's stop fiddling. We'll start with the 400 grit. And so that is a leading edge. This is not. So yes, that is a leading edge. That's a slat edge. So I can afford to be a little more aggressive right there. Connectivity problems here. Sorry, I'm looking at my computer off screen. Yeah, I gotta be a little more forward with this. Sorry guys. I usually don't build on this section of the bench, just use them at holding area. But I can't get the camera over it. There's the other slat side. I can't even see it, can't people watching, so maybe I'm just sitting here talking to myself. But that's okay. I'm not doing YouTube for the money. I'm doing YouTube for me. It's mental health. All right, so now I'm going to, I like these spongy sticks, so I can, in fact, I'm going to switch to a smaller one. Do the bulk work here. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just, there's a spot right there. There's another one right here. I may have to do a little surgery. Just gently, gently, gently. We don't want to change. It's one of the parts of aircraft models. I love building planes, don't get me wrong, but man, they always put a sprue gate on that leading edge. And if you don't get it off, it looks wonky, and if you overdo it, it's like telltale. And on this quick build, I don't really have time to come back in with green stuff or modeling paste and trying to reestablish that curve, that airfoil curve. So, taking my time. There we go. Now, we still have this little nugget here. So you can see there's a little gap there. Just ever so slightly, not put a lot of pressure on. Model making is an exercise in patience. So I said, it's really good mental health. And the building process is, it's okay. It's not my favorite part, but it is kind of fun to see it come together. I really enjoy when the paint's done, so that probably won't be till Sunday We're pulling off. Well, we'll have some masking done hopefully tomorrow, or I'm going to be way behind on this build. All right, I think that one's done. All right, time to rinse and repeat. Now, see, I left that way proud, so let's work on this slat. This is the top side of the wing. Do you believe they want this little section right here painted? But if I end up having the slat flush, then it won't matter, but those go on later. Okay, cool. Nothing interfere with that. The only thing we got left is that one. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Come in, try and keep the angle right there, the same. This is the tricky part, because it's molded flat, but it's not flat on the wing surface. All right, that's getting a little too close for comfort, but it's not on a panel line. Right there's the panel line. It's inside that panel line. So let's see. This is going to sit somewhere. I've got location markers, pins. Come on. There. Nope, not yet. Boom. All right. So now we got this delta, this wing together. Now, again, it's not what you see. I can feel a bump right there. Just telling me there's still extra plaster. I may have to come back and do a little scribing. Okay. Actually, that one's not bad. So this should be pretty easy to get, this one here. Again, this is just gonna, if the slats are closed, it'll keep it from closing cleanly. So we wanna make sure we get it off. If the slats are open, we probably won't see it. But you know what? If I assume that I probably won't see it, and I don't take care of it, it'll get seen. So we're gonna come back in here and try to follow that curve right there. Yeah, come back there. Cool. Now, let's get smart about it before I even start sanding. There's a locator pin right there. Boom. Take care of that. Keep that. I got that one pretty good. Keep it off that panel line. Yeah, I can still feel it. You can hear that sandpaper. That's 400 grit. So, I mean, it's pretty fine sandpaper and still, because it's hollow. Well, that's nice. Let's see. There's my 1,000. Okay. Buff out those scratches. Same thing with this one. Come back. That one's pretty good. All right. Like I said, I was debating about pre-shading. I think we'll let the primer do its work. All right, let's get these wings assembled. Coming up on almost the first hour. So what I'm going to do is I've got locator pins, so I'm going to just, much like I did with the trim wheel, just ever so slight dab of glue. And that's going to be this side here. Try and keep my fingers away from those pots. This never works out the first time. I can dry fit it 1,000,000 times and it'll snap right into place as soon as I get the glue out. I know I'm working against time. There we go. Now I'm just gonna hold those together. Fact. Excuse me, that's the one prep item I did not get. Ready to go. Sorry for the noise. My clothespins. There we go. So I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mini clothespin and I'll close that one up. The heavy duty one. Close that side up. The back side looks pretty good. That could use some help too. And then all you need to do is just touch the seam. Just touch it. Just touch it. Let the glue do the work. It'll wick right in there. And see that gap, but you probably can't see it. I can see it. So here on the back side. So now, there, I'll close that gap up. And I'll let that side sit. I need to find some more. We got some more. All right, let's take this wing. Same process. That there to help pull that in place. Away from the fingers. That there. Put that there. No need to go all around. Come back to that one. I'm gonna do is start right on that locator pin right there. Sorry for the camera angle. I'm having a hard time seeing the pin. Boom. Snap, snap. Oh, it's gonna go in there. This one. There we go. Get that lined up just right. The other one, that was the problem child right there. And we'll just come in right on that fold line. Let the cement do the work. Like I said, it'll capillary itself right in. Don't need a whole lot. And I know it looks like I'm hitting it 1,000,000 times, but there's not much cement on that applicator brush. And it'll just wick right in. What we want to do now is keep our fingers away so we don't leave any fingerprints. And then we have on the back side where the slats go. On both sides, there's a seam right there. And while that's thinking about it, that side up, close that side up, and get our alligator clip on. Alligator clip on a stick. And that sucker could go on. cure and get ready for paint. Alrighty, where are we on our list, checklist? Those are done. Struts. Yeah, we'll go for a little bit longer. Okay. So now, I have jumped ahead. I've skipped over number 3. These parts will be cut out, but that's got to get painted before I close it up. We're going to here. And the struts are, so we're going to skip this. This will get painted. And again, the wings got to go on, pre-paint it. These are going, that tail rudder is going to be painted separately. It's going to be all red. You can see from here, it's going to be all red. And all the flaps and assembly. So we're going to go here. And we're going to put the hub and the wheel and the strut together. That'll all get painted black. That's just a little bit of silver. And then we'll keep these covers separate because this side needs to be the RLM 02 and this needs to be the belly color. So there's no way I could put these all together and spray this direction here, but there's no way I can spray this, put it on here, and I think hand paint it will not match the rest of this belly. So these are going to get painted. I'll probably paint this side and then tape off or place down on tacky and paint this when I get around to painting that. Then we'll have to scrape off a little paint there and a little paint there, probably super glue it, and I'll probably super glue this post in here for a little extra strength. So let's get these done. And then the rest of the plan for tonight is to cut parts and get them in the primer. And I will probably do that off camera and we'll have that ready in the morning. But we'll see where we're going. So let's get our parts. And conveniently, they've kept them side to side. I like it. Even though that's 6 and 6, that's 5 and 5. These are different. This is 7 and 4. And it's just going to matter because which way this cover goes forward. But that should be pretty obvious once we get to it. So these little parts are all in the same little tree. So again, cut the tree. If you try and cut them off there, you can get a little twist, and that can be a real pain in the butt. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to cut there. Cut there. And I'm going to leave. Maybe this is number 4, so I know which one's which. So the right is 7. That's number 7. Let's leave it over there. All right, this should be pretty straightforward. They're round wheels. They're not going to look realistic. I could have gone out and grabbed some resin wheels, but to give you a little tire bulge. But we'll see. It's going to be on a frozen pond, so maybe we'll build up some snow around to cover that, or let it sink into it. Like I said, these are all the same part number. There's no left and right to the hubs and the tires, so all we got to do is just take off the little nubbins. So, such that now they want you to paint them separately. This hub gets painted RLM 02, and they want this painted tire black. I usually use a black and brown color combination and paint them all I'll just pin them all the RLM2 and then come back and hit these. They'll be fine. Just make sure I got this orientation right. Yeah. So it's just gonna go in there like this. But I'll clean up before. And if I'm really smart about it, maybe I'll sand away. There we go. So basically, for this, I'm just gonna hold it out here. I got the hub in there, and like I said, just get a little touch. Let the glue do the work. That'll wick its way down inside there. And just to help it along. There you go. There's one wheel. Just that simple. And the hub. Oh yeah, we got to get the strut out. Put those together. Okay. There's no orientation to any of this. Just keep your fingers away from the glue. Don't slop it on. You know, fingerprint, it'll never come out. You probably can't see the glue wicking in, but trust me, it's a cool thing. Little squeeze. Set it aside. All right, let's go get our struts. Those are B14s that are back on that sprue somewhere. Oh yeah, they're on a common runner, 1314. So we'll just cut this off here. And 14 is going to be our right side. Tight. So let's. Clippers are good, but they are not a finesse tool. So use something like this. Lay it down as flat as you can get it. Same concept, just come in and cut slightly proud, and now that is number 14. I guessed right. And we're looking to see there is no divot on this side. And you see they're going to be left and right because they've got that angle there, which is going to set the angle for the wheel. So I'm going to have it wheels down. I was just checking the instructions so that I could cut that whole bit off. It just needs that little bit at the end there. And we got this little bit. And actually, before I prime these, because that's on the cover, so I may just come and fill that gap. A little tacky tape. And there's a little seam, mold seam, a mold line right in there, which you can't see now, but as soon as you paint it, it's going to show up like a sore thumb, even through the airbrush. So take your time now to get rid of those seams. It's probably not going to allow me to get everything in primer on camera, but that's kind of boring just to watch me prime. So once you get this assembly done, Then I'll cut out my other parts. And again, it doesn't matter which wheel goes where. So now let's take the wheel, flip her over. And some of that liquid cement. This, I could use a thicker cement. I'm just not sure where it is right now. The key here is you want that slot to be away from the wheel. I'll set that over there. Come back. Remember, there's a divot here, so that's not going to sit that way. If you cut it while it's wiggling, it possibly could craze or break that. So let's flip it over where it's stable. And we're going to cut away from the part and support the part. I know it doesn't make for good camera work, but there we got that little part right there. Which, of course, they molded it this way, so that means that mold line is running right there. There we go. Scrape that. We don't want to scrape it out around, we just want to get rid of it. And this is right on the piston. And it's just from here to here gets painted silver or chrome color. So then I'll probably put some streaks on it. Everything else is RLM 02. Very, very, very common gray color on German airplanes. But they did have some cool splinter. This is a Swiss plane, but it'll have, would have been delivered in basic German colors, just the olive green. Because then they applied the camouflage. They had a single camouflage color, but by this point, when the E model came out, they were just supplying it in the 71, I believe it's a dark green, and they field applied the camo based on where they were operating. If they were nighttime operations, you know, they didn't bother. They painted black. If they were down in Africa, they would cover it up in the tan color. France, it would have some grays and greens. Russia, they got into some really odd color combinations. All right, I'm happy with that. Again, come back, touch. All right, and that's it for my checklist, my punch list. Boom. So now what I'm going to do, and it's a little over an hour, I'm going to pick these pieces and these pieces, and once I get them cleaned up and brushed up and all that, they'll be ready for primer, and then I can prime all these assemblies, and then in the morning I'll start painting. So probably we'll come back later in the morning when I'm getting ready to button everything up, and yeah, we'll go through that, and then we'll go through some color selections. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed that quick little first assembly. I said I've got a lot of parts to cut and set up for priming, and that is boring to watch someone just sit and run an airbrush all day. When it gets to the exciting part, we're actually painting something, I will bring you guys back. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope everyone had a good night. If there's any comments, I will address them. And that's it for tonight's live stream. Thank you for joining me.